Okay, I call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. And may we have a roll call, please?
Chair Maggie Bird,
Here.
Vice Chair John Corneau.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Matthew Johnston,
Here.
Commissioner Gerald Abramson,
Here.
Commissioner Adriana Vondergraff, Commissioner Sean Colvin.
Here.
Thank you. And for the record, Commissioners James Flickinger, Shane Warburton, Steve Weiss, and Steve Tannehill have been excused from this meeting, but you do have a quorum with 7 commissioners. 6 commissioners.
Thank you. Oh, it's a call to order, and I screwed that up again. Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please. I just missed this. Yeah. I touched it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda review.
Under agenda review, we do not have any changes to tonight's agenda.
Okay, then how about approval of minutes from May 8th meeting?
I make motion that we approve the last,
Okay, anyone second it?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? No, okay. Public comment period. In-person public comments, speakers must fill out a speaker card and submit it to the secretary before the end of the public comment period. Speaker cards for issues listed on the agenda must be presented before the item is up for consideration. Speakers will be called when the item is presented. Zoom public comment, speakers should press the raise a hand button, or if joining by telephone, press star and then 9 to be added to the speaker queue when the chair of commission calls for public comment. Email or public comment if you wish to make a written comment on a specific agenda item by email or mail. Please submit your comment by 12 p.m. on the day prior to the meeting. Your written comment will be distributed to commission members and made part of the permanent meeting record. Written comments will be made available to the public and can be viewed online at vcairports.org/meeting-archives or in person at the Airport Administration Office at 555 Airport Way, Suite B, Camarillo. Public comments submitted in writing are public record and subject to disclosures. An unredacted version is made available when records are requested by a Public Records Act request. Please do not submit personal contact information you do not want to be made public. Okay. Do we have any speaker cards yet?
Oh, we do not have any speaker cards, and there are no people online who indicate they wish to speak on this item.
Oh, okay. All right. New business. Okay, to receive and file a monthly staff update from Communications and Engagement Manager regarding Ventura County airports. And it's recommended that we receive and file a monthly staff report from Communications and Engagement Manager regarding Ventura County airports.
Good evening to you all. Can you hear me okay? My name is Jeanette Haregi. I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager and Public Information Officer for the Ventura County Department of Airports. I'm excited to be here this evening. Tonight, my presentation is twofold. I will be sharing information about the 2024 Fly Friendly VC annual fly-in event, and we'll also share our two most recent spotlight stories. As you may know, the Department of Airports launched Fly Friendly VC in September 2022 as a way to address noise concerns from the community and to also establish and nurture positive relationships with pilots and flight schools that utilize Camarillo and Oxnard airports. To date, the department has hosted 3 successful fly-in events that are designed to stay connected to pilots and flight schools by providing program updates. This year's Fly Friendly VC fly-in event was held at Oxnard Airport on May 22nd. We welcomed our largest group of pilots this year and program successes thus far, areas in which improvements are still needed, and introduce a new element to the program that focuses on jet operations out of Camarillo Airport. This addition to Fly Friendly VC specifically targets nighttime jet operations and reminds flight operators of the joint powers agreement with the city of Camarillo, which does not allow departures from Camarillo Airport between midnight and 5 a.m., and asks that all flight activity be avoided between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Additionally, Fly Friendly VC jet procedures calls for nighttime arrivals on runway 8 at Camarillo Airport whenever possible. A communication piece is being finalized and will be distributed to all FBOs and flight operators connected to Camarillo Airport. Now on to our spotlight stories. As you know, the Department of Airports is highlighting unsung heroes from the local aviation community through periodic short feature stories designed to not only put a spotlight on those who tirelessly serve the community, but to also help educate the community about a portion of the airports that is often overlooked. Many may realize that Camarillo and Oxnard airports serve as vital connections to the national airspace system and are home to many businesses and individual aircraft owners, all of whom contribute to the economic vitality of Ventura County. What many may not realize is that some of these individuals and businesses also play a critical role as philanthropic contributors through a variety of nonprofit organizations that work to benefit the environment, animals, local youth, emergency response, and more. Tonight, I eagerly share our 7th and 8th stories in the series, focusing on the Commemorative Air Force Museum and Dr. Eugene Fussell. First, the Commemorative Air Force Museum. In 1942, the United States Army Air Corps took a piece of undeveloped farmland at the eastern end of the Oxnard Plain and established what became known as Oxnard Flight Strip. A few wooden hangars were built, all designed to meet the temporary needs of World War II, and drafted and enlisted airmen from across the country were assigned for flight training and maintenance throughout the remainder of the war. For the next 20 years, the more than 300 acres of land was intermittently under the control of the United States Department of Defense, with the longest standing assignment going to the United States Air Force from 1951 to 1969. During that time, the airfield became known as the Oxnard Air Force Base, a booming segment of the country's Air Defense Command that became an ideal assignment for many airmen because of the weather and proximity to Los Angeles and the beach. The base even served as a destination airfield for President Kennedy when he visited Naval Air Station Point Mugu. In 1976, the County of Ventura reacquired the land. With the establishment of the city of Camarillo just 12 years before, the land became known as Camarillo Airport, a general aviation airport designed to meet the needs of small and executive aircraft. In 1981, the temporary wooden hangars that had been built for World War II still stood and became home to the Commemorative Air Force's Southern California wing. The nationally based organization, which started in 1957, operates with a single purpose: to preserve the history of the United States military aircraft. The location was ideal, a historic undesignated landmark that once housed this country's Air Force would now serve as a site for preservation. The wing was assigned its first aircraft in 1981. The C-46 was a passenger aircraft turned transport plane that served actively during World War II and Korea. With missions in China, Burma, India, and the Pacific, this aircraft was unpressurized and required manual navigation. It could carry 10,000 pounds of cargo and became an ideal aircraft to fly supplies over the hump on the eastern end of the Himalayan mountains. The Southern California's wings collection gradually grew over the next 2 decades as the Camarillo location became a full-fledged museum. The wooden hangars were demolished in the late 1990s and were replaced with a more modern look. Additional aircraft were assigned by headquarters or were borrowed from members, including a B-25, PT-19, PT-13, F-6F Hellcat, T-6 Texan, T-5 Texan, F-8F Bearcat, Japanese Zero, and Fairchild 24 used by the United States Civil Defense during World War II. Exhibits were established to include one featuring models of every aircraft that flew out of Oxnard Flight Strip and Oxnard Air Force Base from 1942 to 1969, with others focusing on women in aviation, the Tuskegee Airmen, military uniform displays, a model Sherman tank, Army Jeep, and more. Now occupying 3 hangars at Camarillo Airport, the Southern California Wing holds a vital role in the annual Wings Over Camarillo Air Show. Additionally, the wing offers a ride program for the community to experience what it's like to fly in several of the aircraft on display. What started as a hobby became an urgent objective to preserve history, the Commemorative Air Force Headquarters said of their objective. The Southern California Wing and its docents, who have lived experience on the aircraft, work weekly to meet that objective. And in doing so, they honor stories of local and national heroes that might have otherwise been lost. The Commemorative Air Force Museum at Camarillo Airport is open Fridays and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Sundays from 12 to 4. And we provide their website. These stories are located on our website. And so we link those to the organizations that we feature. And pictured here are photos courtesy of the Southern California Wing of the museum. We have the B-25 and the Zero that are often featured in the Wings Over Camarillo Air Show. So super grateful to the team at the Commemorative Air Force Museum for welcoming me in there and having the opportunity to share this story. And we can go to the next slide. Our next story focuses on Dr. Eugene Fussell, who stepped down from the Oxnard Airport Authority earlier this year after more than 20 years as an active member. This story is our way of honoring his commitment to the Department of Airports and to local aviation. There wasn't a lot that the small country town in Southeast Georgia offered the Fussell 6 children. It was the 1940s and 50s, and Jim Crow laws enforced racial segregation. Life for the Fussells was good, but it wasn't easy. Mr. Fussell was a farmer and harvested pecans, cotton, corn, cabbage, cucumbers, tobacco, and sweet potatoes. Mrs. Fussell was a teacher and was insistent that her children were going to make a difference. Skipping college wasn't an option by the time Eugene Fussell graduated from high school. His older brothers had set the precedent. Eugene was enrolled in medical school at Meharry Medical College in Nashville when he and some of his friends learned about an externship program offered by the Navy. We didn't really know much about the Navy, Eugene said. We decided to join because it seemed like a good opportunity. It was 1961. The initial ensign program led Eugene to the National Naval Medical Center, now Walter Reed in Bethesda, Maryland, for a summer program. I was interested in surgery, he said. I started in general surgery when I was transferred to the Naval Hospital in New York. He continued the program and eventually completed his residency at the Naval Medical Center in San Diego, where he opted to specialize in orthopedic surgery. Eugene spent 10 years on active duty as a Navy surgeon stationed at Great Lakes, New York, San Diego, and his final stop at Port Hueneme. My time at Port Hueneme is what brought me to my home in Oxnard, he said. Eugene settled in his new home with his family, which eventually came to include 4 daughters. He continued his work with the Navy as a reserve while focusing on his own private practice as an orthopedic surgeon based in Oxnard. He also pursued his passion for flying, an opportunity that became available to him while stationed at Port Hueneme. He joined the Point Mugu Flying Club and utilized the GI Bill's aviation program to pay for flight training. In addition to his pilot's license, Eugene also earned his commercial license and multi-engine and instrument rating certificates. He purchased a Bonanza and then a Duke, both based at Oxnard Airport, and flew recreationally throughout the United States. Eugene's surgical practice remained open for 30 years until he retired in 2000. Just 2 years earlier, Eugene officially retired from the Navy, having worked his way up to the rank of Rear Admiral. In total, his service spanned 37 years. Eugene's work in medicine continued beyond retirement. He spent 15 years as the Chief Medical Officer for Dignity Health Southwestern Region. He celebrated his final retirement in 2015, but remained active on the governing board of St. John's Medical Center, where he spent decades performing surgery. Throughout his career, Eugene remained active in Oxnard Airport as a member of the Experimental Aircraft Association and member of the Airport Authority for Ventura County's Department of Airports, a position he held for more than 20 years before he stepped down in 2024. Perhaps his greatest achievement has been watching his mother's legacy of making a difference continue with his children, who each hold impressive roles of their own as a school administrator, psychiatric social worker, physician, and attorney. I've been fortunate in my life, he said. My work as a surgeon was transformative. I was able to be part of a life-changing experience for people of all ages, athletes, young people, and older people struggling with mobility. It has been a rewarding journey. And I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Fussell for allowing me to share his story, sharing his photo. And I learned, which he did not share with me in the interview, but one of his daughters shared with me, that he performed the first hip replacement in Ventura County. So we're very honored to have the opportunity to pay tribute to him in this way. Thank you all.
Thank you. Very, very interesting. Anyone else feel like commenting? No, but thank you. It's been great. Okay, next subject. Authorization for the Director of Airports or his designee to award 4 annual consulting service contracts for fiscal year 2024 and 25 to assist the Department of Airports with the following services: engineering, environmental review, environmental planning, grant support administration, planning, design review services, specification writing, disadvantaged business enterprise support, cost engineering, estimating, inspection, materials testing, surveying, construction management, independent fee estimation, and to issue work orders against these contracts.
Good
Okay.
evening, Erin Powers, Projects Administrator for the department. I apologize for the very long subject line. We are following guidance by Auditor Controller's Office for what to put in the subject line, so sometimes it's very lengthy, so we're transparent. Chair Byrd and commission members, this is an item that if you've been here for any time, you know that we bring each fiscal year because the department looks to enter into annual service contracts with several professional consulting firms to support operations and projects at Camarillo and Oxnard airports. Once an annual contract is in place, I'm going to go ahead so you can have a little time to look. Work orders are issued against the annual contract for specific services or tasks. The contracted services include but not limited to the list that Chair Byrd was kind enough to read out. But they provide largely project support. This action approving the consulting contracts does not result in an immediate fiscal impact, as there is no obligation to issue any work orders against the annual contracts during the term of the contracts. A fiscal impact occurs only when the work orders are issued. Sufficient revenue and appropriations are available in the department's proposed fiscal year 24-25 budget for these type of contracts. And so staff is requesting that your commission recommend the board approve the contracts for approval. The 4 contracts that we are requesting before you are firms that follow the procurement services protocols for review and satisfactory job performance, and also went through our solicitation process. The engineering and environmental firms did our 5-year selection process. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone? Well, you're very convincing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so staff requests that we recommend that the Board of Supervisors do as follows here: authorize the Director of Airports or his designee to award annual consulting contracts for the fiscal year 24-25 to the consultants listed in the annual consultant services contract summary, Exhibit 1, using a contract form negotiated in compliance with the County of Ventura Public Works Agency project processing procedures manual. An exemplar contract from this form is attached as Exhibit 2. Final contract language is subject to review and approval to form by county councilor, and authorize the director of airports or his designee to issue work orders against such contracts up to $35,000 each project for planning of construction projects not yet approved by your board, and for up to $200,000 each work order for other services. So I guess we're just gonna, receive and file, is that
Deborah, this item requires a vote and a motion in a second.
does? Okay, all right. Would you
I
call-
make a motion that the board approves the authorization of the director to, or designate to sign contract amendments to extend the contract expiration dates of the 4 contracts through June 30th, 2025. On the 4, things named in this Exhibit 1 through 4.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, roll call?
Thank you. Chair Byrd,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornell,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthew Johnston,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerald Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Adriana Vondergraaf,
Yes.
Commissioner Sean Colvin.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously, 6-0. And for the record, there were no public comments on this item. Thank you.
Okay, next subject. You want me to read this, or do you want to just
I'm happy to help you out if you'd like.
go ahead?
Chair Burt, commission members, this evening we're before you for the approval of an authorization for the Director of Airports as designee to sign contract amendments to extend the contract expiration dates of 4 contracts through June 30th of 2025. And this, there is no change in total cost of contracts. So to support projects at Cameron and Oxnard airports, the department enters into various consulting contracts for planning, design, and construction management services. Typically, the contract period identified in each contract reflects adequate time to complete the project that is the subject of the contract. However, the airport has undertaken in recent years several significant projects and experienced the impacts of limited staffing levels, both in-house and via project stakeholders, which has led to this request today to extend the contract expiration dates of 4 contracts so that we can complete project paperwork, closeouts, and progress our final payments. There is no change in total cost to the contracts. As you can see, I have a column that just shows that we are, each contract is remaining the same. The only change is to extend the contract expiration date. Therefore, staff is seeking a recommendation to the board to approve the contract extensions. And I'm here to answer any questions if you may have them.
So moved as recommended.
There are nobody online wishing to speak on this topic, and nobody in the room.
I can do a roll call vote if you'd like, Chair Byrd.
Yeah, right. Yes,
Thank you. So Chair Byrd,
yes,
Vice Chair Cornell,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthew Johnston,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerald Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Adriana Vondergraaf, Commissioner Sean Colvin.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously, 6-0.
thank you. Okay, next one. approval of and authorization for the Director of Airports. Come on, I'm not gonna mess of this, or his designee to sign contract change order number 1 in the amount of $173,284 with Security Paving Company Incorporated for the reconstruction of taxiway Foxtrot, renamed Alpha at Oxnard Airport, raising the total contract amount from $17,365,009.50 to a total amount of 538,293.50. Project specification DOA 2303 and project number OXR 150.
Thank you. This will be my final item tonight, and I appreciate you reading that out. In September of 2023, the board awarded a construction contract to Security Paving Company for the reconstruction of taxiway Alpha, which is currently under construction. As a Part 139 airport, you've heard before that the Oxnard Airport was mandated to use a particular formula of firefighting foam, which is no longer used, that contained PFAS, which is an abbreviation for a large number of chemical names I dare not try to pronounce. Testing at the locations where the foam had previously been released found PFAS in very low concentrations within the soil. As such, there was potential for the excavated soil in this project to contain PFAS compounds. So the project was bid to allow for off-site disposal and or stockpiling, depending on what was needed. However, we also built into this project pre-construction waste characterization testing. And that soil testing was done in accordance with a work plan approved by the Los Angeles Water Board and was cleared to be hauled off site to a landfill as non-hazardous waste. Therefore, change order number 1 will increase the disposal quantities and subsequently decrease the stockpiled or stockpile management line item quantities in the bid to allow offsite disposal of all of the excavated soil as non-hazardous waste. The contract change order in the amount of $173,284 will increase the original contract price to a total amount of $17,538,294, which exceeds the Director of Airports authority. And that's why we therefore are bringing this before your body and asking the board to approve change order number 1. And you can see I took a snapshot of line item numbers from our bid proposal that included both excavated stockpile management and haul off. And so we're going to be increasing quantities for the disposal offsite, the haul off, and we will be decreasing the stockpile management and stockpile on-site quantities so that when we are done with this, no excavated soil will be left on site. I do want a couple of key things about this project that distinguishes it from other phases that we've completed, because there has been some confusion, which I believe has resulted in a complaint that we received during phase 1 of this project that was made to the water board regarding some of our stockpiled material. Just to be clear, there is no stockpiling of excavated soil going on. We had clearance to dispose off site, and that's what we are doing through each phase. But one of the things that doesn't prohibit us from stockpiling other materials like clean imported materials on site, as well as asphalt grindings or millings, which is produced by taking off that asphalt layer. And that material is a very valuable material that the airport is able to utilize for filling low spots and weed abatement in some of our airfield areas. And so essentially, some of these stockpiles raised some concerns in the community that perhaps this was PFAS impacted material and it wasn't being handled properly. So we were able to work with the water board to resolve and close out the complaint successfully, because we were able to provide information that showed that we were completely in compliance. So just to reiterate, there is no stockpiling of excavated soil occurring during the duration of this project. Any material stockpiles on site are, again, either clean import or asphalt grindings that we have received, in discussions with the water board. They're in concurrence that what we're doing is allowed. And additionally, one of the changes between this project and prior phases is that this is all the construction is being completed during daytime hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And therefore all the trucking related to the soil, the excavated soil and offsite disposal is happening during daytime hours, which I know was something that was disruptive to our neighbors when we were doing night work in the previous phases. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the change order or anything else.
Did I note that some of this was paid for by the federal government, or?
So we have, yes, so this change order is eligible for federal reimbursement. We have not, we've submitted it to the FAA to gain their approval on the change order. We haven't received that concurrence back, but we also have the appropriations necessary if for some reason there was not room on the grant, but we believe that there will be.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, recommendation, staff requests that your commission authorities recommend that the Board of Supervisors approve and authorize the Director of Airports or his designee to sign contract change order number 1, Exhibit 1, in the amount of $173,284 with Security Paving Company, Inc. for the reconstruction of taxiway Foxtrot, renamed Alpha, at Oxnard Airport, raising the total contract amount from $17,365,009 to a total of $17,538,293.
And Chair Bird, for the record, there are no public comments on this item.
Okay. Then we want to have a roll call on this, please?
It will need a motion and a second by your
Oh.
commission.
Motion.
We'll make a motion
Thank
to
you.
approve the authorization of the Director of Airports to design the contract change for number 1, Exhibit 1, the amount of $117,284 for Security Paving Company for the reconstruction of taxiway F renamed Alpha at Oxnard Airport, raising the contract to the amount of $17,365,009.50.
I'll
To
second.
amount of $17,538,293.50. There we go.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the roll call, Chair Bird,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cornell,
Yes.
Commissioner Matthew Johnston,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerald Abramson,
Yes.
Commissioner Adriana von der Graaf, Commissioner Sean Colvin.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, director's report, please.
Good evening, Chair Bird and commission members. I just have a few items. Dave, I think we have a slide on update for the Oxnard Taxiway Alpha project, maybe somewhere. I'm happy to report that the Oxnard Taxiway Alpha project, which started May 9th, is on target. So that was the first phase. And we moved to the second phase June 9th. So on schedule at this point. It's about a 3-month project that should wrap up on or about July 31st. So just want to pass on again, first phase complete.
Second phase is basically dividing all the taxiway alpha in three phases. First phase, first third or thereabouts on the east side of the airport, moving through to the west. That's the first update. Next item, maybe we have a slide on the airport.
You bet.
The inspection for Oxnard FAA, maybe that's in there. If not, I want to congratulate and recognize our maintenance and operations staff. They had Caltrans inspections for Camarillo and Oxnard a couple months ago with zero discrepancies. And then for Oxnard, because it still maintains its 139 certificate, Oxnard had an FAA inspector and zero discrepancies on that as well. So maintenance operations staff, fabulous job, zero discrepancies, both with Caltrans inspector a couple months prior and with the FAA inspector. So wanted to recognize them. The other update, just last week, June 3rd and 4th, we had the third public meetings for the noise study, Oxnard and Camarillo. Camarillo on Monday, June 3rd, had about 71 folks in attendance. In Oxnard, about 21 folks in attendance the following evening. The focused third meetings in the noise study, third public meetings, was really a listening session for ideas that the community wanted us to consider in noise mitigation as we wrap up. Again, the first phase of the noise study was the contours, developing the noise impact contours. And the second phase is really the noise compatibility program, NCP, where we come up with, quite frankly, what everybody wants to see at the end is what mitigation measures we're going to come up with. So we had those public meetings last week, and probably the last public meeting will be in the October timeframe. We'll look at some dates early October. Then we'll have the final noise study, complete draft, and those noise mitigation measures. So in the October timeframe. And again, listening to those folks, and we even gotten letters from City of Camarillo specifically asking for us to look at particular items. So we'll do that, take all of that in as we come up with the final drafts. And just the last thing I want to share is you heard me talk about the strategic plan for the Department of Airports. We've wrapped that up, and you will soon see, I'm hoping in the next 30 to 60 days, some of our posters that we'll develop for our staff to put up on the walls here. So you'll see some of the results of our hard work for the last 6 months. And that's all I have, unless there's any specific question.
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you for the question. I can tell you that staff, Jeanette and team, our PIO, work tirelessly to partner with the PIO at Point Magoo on a regular basis when they have events, asking for them to give us a heads up. And I can tell you that it's very difficult because of the mission that they do on a regular basis. A lot of times it's not public knowledge of what they're doing at the time. So it's usually after the fact. Most of the things we do, we try to get ahead of it, get the information out so that people are aware before it happens. And that's rarely the case with the folks at Point Magoo. So it's usually after the fact. We do have some technologies that we put in place for our team that can do flight tracking when we get calls, determining usually whether it's coming into Camarillo or going to Point Magoo. But even some of that's kind of difficult because a lot of our flight tracking software purposefully is not able to track military aircraft. So it's difficult, I guess is what I'd say. But when we can, and we do communicate on a regular basis with the folks over at Point Magoo, trying to get ahead of it. and
Because
get
it
information.
seemed, and again, I'm saying it carefully, it seemed louder than usual when I was outside and then listened to it and went, oh, that's going into Magoo. But how many people would really be able to recognize that? It's a rhetorical question. But, it seems like there might, if there's any way of somehow keeping any kind of track on that, it might be interesting to see if there's any way of correlating complaints.
Usually what we do is exactly what happened tonight is Jeanette will take back your comments and try to make that contact and see if we can get something after the fact. And then get something out publicly if they'll share with us. But thank you for that. So
Okay.
that helps us. A lot of times it's,
Just curious.
yes,
I did notice something on a web-based newsletter about that today, about Magoo and the planes were flying low and basically some guy writes back, goes, you live near a military base.
yeah, again, for
Oh, I
obvious
wasn't the only
reasons.
one.
A
Okay.
lot of times they just don't share their
Yeah.
missions and what's going
Military.
on at the time. We just got notified of a temporary flight restriction for VIP, government VIP coming into LAX, I think in the next week or two. We'll be sending that out through our notices later this week. So when that happens, it closes down the airspace over LAX, in fact, usually Burbank. And then we see some additional traffic because of that. So we will put that information out in advance. I think we're looking to do that at the end of this week. So
Yeah,
come on up.
come on up.
There's been others have noticed the increase in military traffic as well. I did reach out to the PIO for, Point Magoo, and he's out of the office until today. He returned today, so I'm waiting to hear back from him, but I did reach out regarding that to see if there's anything we can, notify the community of.
Okay, because when you get certain folks, making the comment like, well, then tell the Navy to make their planes go elsewhere. Yeah, but,
So we have received a few, not a ton, but a few comments and calls regarding how to communicate with Point Magoo regarding their increase in traffic. So just overall, I reached out to Point Magoo, and so we need to hear back.
okay, thank you.
Any more questions, comments? Thank you. It was
Thank you.
very interesting and very positive for a change. I like that. Thank you. Okay, and the reports, anybody read through these and see if you have any questions? They were all attached to this agenda. Nope. All right, correspondence, items listed below are presented to the Aviation Advisory Commission for information only at this time. The correspondent item require no action or are not ready for the commission's consideration. The commission may refer these items to the Department of Airports for investigation and report back on a future agenda. Any comments on any of those? Right, lots of letters here. Okay, commission comments, please. Nobody? All right. Then I guess we'll have to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
Okay. I don't think you need to do a roll call on it, do you?
No, you do not. Thank you.
Okay.